Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, October 31st, 2:37 p.m., and it is All Hallows Eve, also known as Halloween. And this video is not going to be about Halloween, although I'm a big advocate for Catholics celebrating Halloween because it is a Catholic holiday. It's the vigil of All Saints' Day, and then we have All Souls' Day after that. So it brings us into this triadium, I guess they call it, of 3 days of focusing on death, focusing on praying for the dead, focusing on the superheroes of the faith who are the saints, and trying to imitate the saints. And obviously, the secular world, as well as the dark forces of evil, the evil one, have taken this and made it into their own holy day. And with that comes a lot of nonsense, such as half dressed women promoting lust and fornication, and on the other side of things, the gory, demonic side. And as Catholics, obviously, we need to stay away from that. But many of the traditions that we have in the West, that the Protestants or whoever try to say are pagan, are not. For instance, we have trick or treating, which comes from the tradition of children or beggars knocking on the doors. I think it comes from England, knocking on people's doors, asking for treats. I think they called them soul cakes. And once they received the treats, the idea was that they would pray for the dead members of that particular family. So if their souls were in purgatory, they would have some relief or get released into heaven. So that's not what this video is about, but I'm going to post some awesome resources in the comments below to other videos, and then in-depth articles and things like that if you want to learn more about All Hallows Eve. And like I said, just know that it has obviously got taken over, but as Catholics we have a obligation to celebrate these things the traditional Catholic way. So that's what I plan on doing. I hope everybody has that mindset. So I look a little tired right now. I was not up partying last night. Unfortunately, I'm not hungover. I didn't attend any Halloween parties, although we did do some trick-or-treating early last night. Had a good night of trick-or-treating. But I had an awful night last night as far as demonic attacks are concerned, and I'm not going to go into detail because really I don't even think they should be talked about out in the open. It's really between me and God and whatever. But there is an element of one of the dreams I had that I do want to talk about because I feel that it is extraordinarily important. And I'm not one of those people that believes in listening to, basing your life off your dreams and things like that. I think sometimes people do read too far into dreams, but I also think that sometimes people discount their dreams when they shouldn't. And I have learned that lesson many, many times the hard way, of dreams that I have had that were warnings that I didn't heed, and that really, led to some bad situations, led to some bondage, led to some, terrible things. So now I try to interpret them. And my good litmus test really is if I wake up praying from a dream, it's normally something I need to pay attention to. So in this case, last night, the first dream I had, it must have been right after midnight. Like I said, the demonic like to hijack this holiday, and there's a lot of occult and Satanists that have their big, whatever, black masses or whatever nonsense starting at midnight. So I don't know if it was related to that, whatever. But so the first dream I had that I woke up praying from, I do believe to be a warning. So just bear with me. You can think I'm a crackpot or whatever. Whatever. I just have to get it out because here's the thing. I have to answer to the Lord at the end of the day. And the more people we help here on earth get closer to God and do what they're supposed to be doing, the greater will our reward be in heaven. So the first dream I had was super bizarre. Sitting at what I would describe as a feast table. I don't remember what the food looked like, which is odd for me because I'm a foodie. But I don't recall. I know there was food there, but I don't recall what kind of food, what it looked like, or what it tasted like. But I was, and it was an outside. It was definitely outside. And there was a bunch of people I didn't recognize. There was some people I did recognize from like that I grew up with, maybe went to school with, things like that, that I've just met over the course of my life The one thing I did realize was that they were all Catholic. I had this knowing that they were all Catholic, but I also had this knowing that they were not practicing Catholics. That they maybe identified as Catholic but had fallen away from the faith. We're not praying Catholics. We're kind of just along for the ride. Like I was born into Catholicism, but not convicted by Catholicism, is the impression I got, with the exception of the man sitting directly across the table from me who happens to be a priest. A very holy priest that I had never seen before. He was wearing all white. If I didn't know any better, if I didn't know what the Pope looked like or things like that, I would almost say maybe a Pope or a Holy Father. I don't know. I don't want to go that far. But definitely a holy priest. And so we were all kind of just making small talk. And then I felt like the environment around us changed. It got dark, it got windy, it got foggy, it got oppressive feeling. And the people around me didn't really seem to notice. And so I was like confused as to why I was the only one noticing this. But I could also feel this priest staring at me, not saying anything, but just looking at me. And so just like observing me almost. And so I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, I start seeing these, like, what I would describe as a parade. Um, and I find it funny, like, we just celebrated at my kids' Catholic school on Friday on a saint parade. The kids dress up as saints, and they parade from the school to the church. It's a nice thing the school does. And so I'm like, half of me is like, oh, okay, this is like an inversion of that, whatever. I'm used to being attacked by the demonic. It's happened to me my whole life. It has definitely increased, though, in recent times for me as I get older. So pray for me. I would appreciate your prayers. Um, anyway, back to the dream. So the climate, the environment changed, things like that. And then what I would describe as a demonic parade. I don't know how else to say it. Just a parade of demonic creatures in darkness. Just goes down the middle. Like there was a road, a brick looking kind of road. After the tables here, the road was here. I was facing the road. The priest was facing me. So they were going behind him. And I could sense that this priest knew they were there, but wasn't saying anything. He was just kind of looking around, observing, and he was like observing me. And the people around me were just carrying on like it was normal, like everything was fine. They were enjoying their meals, just talking, chit chatting, completely oblivious to the demonic parade going by. And so I'm like in my dream, like, am I hallucinating? Like in my dream, that was my thought. Like, why is nobody else seeing this? Like, I must be crazy. I must be hallucinating. Like, I finally lost my mind, right? And then, so we get there, the parade's going by, and I focus in on this one figure, and I don't even want to describe it because I don't even want to put the imagery out there, but it was obviously the ringleader of this demonic parade in the form of a human, but not hard to tell. I thought, I thought it was a man. It looked like a man, but it also had some feminine features, and it was it was clothed in black feathers. But anyway, I'm not going to put the whole imagery out there because it's not relevant. And I don't want to give anybody else night terrors. So I'm like looking, and so finally the priest is just looking at me. And I thought maybe he started to say something, but I don't recall. And I looked at him, and I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, I know you see him, even though his back was to them. But I knew to ask him. I'm like, who is that? And he looked at me and he's like, that's an angel. And so I'm like, well, I know angels. And so I'm like, that's a fallen angel. And as the words were coming out of my mouth, I was like, in my dream, I was like, that's Satan. And the priest looked at me almost like you can see him. Like he was surprised that I was watching this demonic parade, and like that I could see him. And he just looked at me like dead serious. And he was like, increase your prayers and penance. And so immediately I just started praying. So as soon as I had said the word, simultaneously to this, as soon as I had said the word Satan, I don't want to say it. And that's the other thing he said. He was like, Don't say that name. That's what he initially said. Don't say that name. Increase your prayers and penance. So I know how this sounds. I don't care. I have to get it out. So immediately in this dream, I start praying. I start praying the Our Father, like the beginning of the Rosary, basically. I don't remember saying the Apostles' Creed, but I remember starting with the Our Father. I was saying the Hail Marys. I was saying Glory Bees. I think at one point I might have started saying a prayer to Saint Michael. And I grabbed the hands of the person next to me. And it was a female, and I just remember grabbing her hands and like clasping it between my hands and praying for both of us. And I'm sorry, it was really emotional in the dream. And so, kind of simultaneously to all this, as this was going on, I could feel things start to get chaotic. So, this figure, who we've now identified as the fallen angel, passes by, and things immediately start to get chaotic. The priest is telling me increase my prayers and penance. So as I grab this girl's hand and I'm praying my Our Fathers and Hail Marys, as I'm doing this, I'm moving further away from the scene. And it was almost like I was running, but I don't remember running. Like it was like my prayers were moving us away from this. So I had her by the hands, and I was grabbing onto her praying, and it was moving us away. And it was moving us, oddly enough, over a hill towards a harbor where I had a feeling, or just a knowing, I guess, that was safety, and there was a ship there, like an ark that was going to protect us, a refuge, whatever you want to call it, safety in the harbor that was going to protect us from the chaos that was ensuing with the parading around, like out in the open, not hidden, clearly dominating, not being shown any resistance, just walking around unchecked. This priest had his back to him, knew he was there, knew to tell me to do prayers and penance, but that was it. And then when we reached the harbor, I look back and I see this priest on top of the hill we had just crossed over, and I could see him trying to get people to safety. And then the last thing that happened before I woke up from this particular dream was that I knew that priest was going to die. He was going to be killed by the fallen angel. And I knew all the people that did not get to the ship were now the possession of that satanic parade. So then I woke up still like this, like I was clutching somebody's hands, still praying, and in an excruciating amount of pain. The only way I can describe it is like I was being stabbed by a lot of knives, or maybe I've never gotten bitten by a snake, but I heard it's excruciatingly painful, and like the inside of my body just hurt all over, like sharp pain all throughout my body. And so I continued to pray. I prayed the rosary. This in real life now, and I went throughout I sprinkled holy water everywhere in my house. I sprinkled my kids, said a prayer over my kids. Said a prayer, for myself. I texted somebody, another Catholic, and asked them, hey, like, you please say a prayer that the Lord will send his angels to protect me tonight, so I could go back to sleep, basically. So the moral of the story is this. I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm nothing. I could be totally wrong. I could be totally deceived. I don't know. This could have been a trick of the devil, so to speak, but the moral of the story is this is what I got from it. As practicing Catholics, as praying, most importantly, praying Catholics, we can see threats before other people can. We can see things for what they are. We can see a little bit behind the veil of what actually is going on. And it is our duty to take the fallen away Catholics by the hands and help them obtain salvation through prayer. And that's a really heavy cross, I understand. But that's what I got from this. And I hope that's where it ends. But I also got a nagging feeling that things from this point on are going to be a little bit darker than what we're used to. Um, and don't lose the faith. Don't lose the faith, because the faith is that ark. The Catholic faith is that ship. No matter if it looks like the church is being overrun by the demonic, and maybe that's what it's going to look like in the physical world, in the spiritual world, the church is that safe haven, that ark in the harbor. We all have to make it to that, no matter what. Just stay in the ark. Um, so I hope y'all have a great All Hallows Eve. I'm going to end it here because I don't have many other words. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I'm only sharing it because it doesn't go against anything that we already know to be true as Catholics. As far as we have to, now is not the time to judge other people for how they practice the faith, even if they're not practicing the faith. Now is not the time to judge. Now is the time to take them by the hands and pray for them, pray with them, and to help them get to the ship, because I believe that's going to be the only way to avoid complete and total spiritual destruction going forward. So, Virgin most powerful, pray for us. Saint Michael the Archangel, pray for us. Joan of Arc Media out.